time to continue. So also people around in the booth area and so on, if you want to join the next talk, now is the time. And welcome back also for our online audience. Our next speaker has quite an interesting story to tell. So this person is not just working in the games industry, especially indie game dev, which is, as a fellow indie, I know how fun, but also painful it can be. But also really, really huge advocate, and not just advocate, really hands-on person when it comes to creating projects that are actually having impact out there, especially ecological impact. So now I wish to welcome on the stage Jani Kahrama from Secret Exit, who will be talking about Pelimetsä project. Jani, welcome. Stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. Screw you for painting me in that light. So Pelimetsä. It started a couple of years ago. I don't know who here is familiar with the project. Crickets and shaking hands. Good. That's excellent. So a couple of years ago, the idea rose that, hey, look, we could actually maybe do something good together. And it became a longer period of trying to figure out what would be simple, straightforward, and achievable together. Ultimately, we ended up with the realization that there is already an organization in Finland that handles protection of biodiversity in a very, very splendid and trustworthy way, and that's the Finnish Natural Heritage Foundation. In Finnish, that's Luonnonperintösäätiö. They have a spectacular track record. And all they needed is money. So this made things very simple for us. It involved a lot of phone calls, which basically was just saying, hi, let's protect forest. How much money can you put on the table? And that phone call was repeated a number of times, and ultimately we had about 500,000 euros altogether, which then was donated to Luonnonperintösäätiö. That was their single most successful campaign at the time. And the money was used to buy 2 locations. One of them was in Hauho, the other one up north in Inari. Please roll the video. So, usually when you see this kind of drone footage, it's there's also melancholy music in the background, but don't worry about that. But usually when you see this footage, it's just there as a sort of setting for the atmosphere and so forth. But in this case, the good part is that it's actual evidence. Like that, we were there to shoot the drone footage. That is the actual forest that was saved. So it's not marketing, it's evidence. I think there's a difference. It went well. There was a lot of positive press. And the next phase from that, because we decided that we shouldn't just stop there. And this was all just grassroots movement, just people from the game industry doing good together. We were anonymous for the entire project. The phase 2 was to bring this project over to the Finnish Game Developer Association, asking them if they were interested in actually adopting the initiative and turning it into an official activity for the actual game developer community in Finland. And yes, this turned out to be so. The board of the Game Developer Association approved, and we were ready for phase 2. So this became an annual thing 2 years ago. So we were looking for long-term supporters for the initiative, game companies that would commit to at least 1,000 euros a year of donations. And there are about 20, 30 companies currently involved in just this. So it's purely goodwill. There's no transactional thing here whatsoever. All the companies who are on board. They just make an annual donation to Luonnonperintösäätiö, and that has been going on for 2 years now. And this is all kind of well and good, but it's not the kind of impact that the most profitable industry in Finland and actually on the planet should be making. So right now it's been, as said, goodwill, and every donation has been appreciated. But if we really want to accomplish something that has an ecological meaning, then we need to think in scale. We need to find a way to let companies involve themselves in an activity in a way that actually makes a bigger difference. And that's now underway. So the phase 3 of Pelimetsä is not, it's still voluntary. There's no compulsion at all. Although gunpoint sounds really, really tempting. So phase 3 is actually taking carbon into account. There's a lot of talk, a lot of fluff, a lot of haziness, a lot of confusion in the CO2 compensation marketplace. I think many companies are of the mindset that yes, this is a good thing, we should do something, but there are no simple solutions. Or maybe there are, maybe I haven't come across them, but at least from my point of view, if a company wants to compensate for their CO2, it becomes a very, very complex task to achieve. So how do we make this simple? Well, we already did. It's there. There's all the money that goes into Luonnonperintösäätiö not only compensates for carbon, like all the carbon that has been absorbed by the forest floor, stays there. That forest is not cut down because it's protected by Finnish law once Luonnonperintösäätiö buys the location. Not only that, not only does it compensate for the CO2, but it's the only surefire way to handle biodiversity at the same time. The forest is there. Animals can live there. And that can be achieved by game companies pooling together in their carbon compensation activities and picking Luonnonperintösäätiö and hopefully the Pelimetsä campaign as the donation target. So how do we make this even more simple? Well, CO2 calculation for a game company is not a simple thing to accomplish. There are a number of models out there, and NeoGames has already been working on a model for game companies. And this model takes into account the CO2 emissions of the player base. If we really want to be impactful in our compensation activities, then compensating for the player emissions is our responsibility. There's no one else to do it. There will be a website, Pelimetsä website will be updated with a simplified calculator for CO2 emissions. And then the question is, like, how much does a CO2 ton cost when you donate it or compensate it via the Pelimetsä initiative? The range of CO2 compensation prices varies greatly. If you go for a random cheap compensation, it can probably even be 10 euros a ton. The most expensive ones I've seen so far range in way over 100, 150 euros a ton, can be even beyond that. The price quoted by Luonnonperintösäätiö for their CO2 ton is currently at 70 euros. So depending on the CO2 compensation that the company would have, multiply those tons by 70, that would be the price of your CO2 footprint at the moment. And that's what we try to accomplish here. A simple website, simple enough for even a CFO to use. an initiative and a target for donations that guarantees that the money is spent exactly as promised. The forest is here in Finland. If you ever want to check what your money did, you just go there and you check out the tree and notice it's still standing. So it's reliable, it's here, and we try to make it as simple as possible. The work is still in process, so we still need to build the website, and we still need to simplify the current CO2 model, again, to be as simple as possible to use. We want to make this so simple that even if you feel that this is important, but you just don't want to put the mental effort into it, we just want to set the table, like here, a ready solution with good results, go do. That's the goal. And while we are still dragging our feet on the website side of things, like if your company is wondering what to do and what is a good, simple way to compensate for your CO2, the campaign for Pelimetsä has been running all along. So donations are accepted as we go. I realize that for public companies, this may be more difficult. Like there are reasons beyond my indie understanding for a public company to choose differently certified transactional CO2 credits. This is not that. Whatever you do, this is a charity donation to protect Finnish biodiversity and CO2, and you can do that in proportion to your CO2 footprint. And for many companies, that should be enough. Thank you.